listening, welcome to the Captain's Vlog. I'm Muj Choudhury, CEO of RocketPhone.AI, and I have with me today Mr. Cédric Vergé from a company
That's
called
correct.
Avonni, right?
Yeah.
Would you kindly explain your role in the company, please?
Yes, so I am the co-founder of Avonni. My main role is really to manage. I'm the customer success manager. So we are a small company, so I'm wearing multiple hats, as you know, and I'm doing mostly sales, customer support. I'm also doing all the onboarding, documentation, tutorials. I'm doing everything that is not
Everything.
technical. I'm doing everything that is not, product development,
Uh-huh.
technical coding stuff. No, I'm not doing this.
I know that
Everything else,
feeling.
yes,
Uh,
that's me.
I I'm very familiar with that. In fact, most of the companies that we speak to, not every company is a multinational corporation, right? So the majority
Mhm.
of companies, we have enterprising people who have to do many different things to help their business to be successful. I had a look at your company, Cedric, and it's very interesting what you do. But rather than me making a really bad job of explaining what the company does, why don't you tell us what you guys do?
Yes. So what we are doing, basically, our mission is really to help users elevate the Salesforce user experience. So we started this mission back in 2017 with an idea of bringing and building a Salesforce dedicated prototyping tool to help users create their mockups, their wireframe of what they want to have on Salesforce. And it's doing extremely well with this product because we are the only exclusively dedicated to Salesforce prototyping tool. You have other solutions on the market, but exclusively dedicated to Salesforce, there is Avonni Designer. So that's what we launched in 2017 with multiple iterations, a lot of updates, enhancement on the product. And recently, in February this year, we launched another solution part of the App Exchange. So we build an application on the App Exchange, a managed package of what I call 60 UI components. So basically, it's all about enhancing the user experience on Salesforce by giving to non-developers like admin, technical architect, building blocks. So it's like Lego bricks they can use right inside Salesforce to build anything they want without having to code anything. So our goal with this product is really to give admin, technical architect the same power as a developer without leaving the Salesforce platform. So here we have like 60 plus UI components you can mix and match like building blocks to create the user interface you want. If you want to enhance the opportunity page with a widget that giving you metrics about the opportunities or what you have on the funnel, you can build that using our plug and play components right into Salesforce with no code. So that's basically what we are doing. It's all about enhancing the Salesforce user experience
Yeah.
with Avodi.
It's fascinating because I remember when Lightning was first launched. So before Lightning, you had the classic interface with like visual force components and all this sort of stuff, and that was actually it was kind of flexible because you had lots of components. And then Lightning came along, which promised to be like even more flexible, and it had a more familiar framework, I guess, where you could componentize
Yeah,
parts of the user interface. But I always thought at the time that there was scope for a company to come along and make this Lightning framework a lot more accessible. And that's what you guys have done effectively. So I guess like, the value that you deliver to your customers is accelerating the pace at which you can build an application on the Salesforce platform, right?
exactly. By doing a prototyping first, and then by building that live on your Salesforce with no code, without having to rely on a dev, and also without having like technical debt with maintaining code. Uh, and that's really important. And there is a lot of potential with that because that's the no code ecosystem.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what Salesforce is also pushing hard.
This is Muj. Using a mobile, he struggles to keep track of all his calls. So that's why we built RocketCell. With our eSIM, all you need to worry about is having great conversations. RocketCell records, transcribes, and analyzes each conversation, automatically logging it in Salesforce. Join the waitlist today.
Regarding his platform.
Exactly, and you mentioned two words that stop me from sleeping at night, right? And that is technical debt. And I can honestly say to you, so Rocket Phone, I mean, our business, we've been around for like 4 years, well, 5 years coming up to now. And one of the painful lessons that I learned from the early days of building our platform is do not get into technical debt, right? And I think that, these like these local platforms, especially like Salesforce, it's very quick and easy to build something, right? But then later on down the line, when you come back and you want to start modifying something or adjusting something else, there is this sometimes there's this horrible chain of dependencies. And you have to start to backtrack step by step to figure out what is the root cause of my current situation and how do I undo that so I can start to innovate again. And if that's a problem that you're solving, everybody should listen. In my opinion.
Exactly. And it's not only technical debt, but it's also thinking about the user experience on Salesforce.
Yeah.
And I know that Salesforce is doing an amazing job with Lightning, with the Lightning design system, with standard component, but those can be improved because Salesforce cannot cover everything the businesses needs to have, and that's where we come into play.
Yeah,
with our plug and play components.
Absolutely, and this is why the ISV community exists. I mean, we wouldn't exist as a business if it wasn't for if Salesforce could do everything and they could do everything well, then there'd be no need for an ISV business unit. So that's definitely why it exists, and I think
they know that.
Yeah,
I mean, they know that because Salesforce is building the platform. Yes. It's all about building the platform because they want to rely on partners like us to build more stuff on their platform.
Absolutely. So talk about platforms then. Does your technology work across all Salesforce licenses? Because with like Lightning and UI, like Sales Cloud and Service Cloud have one framework, if you like, and then Experience Cloud, which is more sort of customer facing, may have a slightly different framework or a different approach to design. Do you cover all of those?
Yes, so the Avonni components, so the managed package we have on the App Exchange cover the internal Salesforce application like Service Cloud, Sales Cloud, Financial Cloud, but we also cover Experience Cloud. It's new. Okay. We just released the Avonni components for Experience Cloud Builder. So now you have plug and play components you can use right inside your Experience Cloud site. Or if you want to create a navigation, if you want to use a navigation component and style this navigation component to be fancy, to match your branding style. If you want to use a banner, if you want to use a data table or a map, that's part of the components we provide, plug and play components we provide for Experience Cloud. So yes, that's really important to cover everything users can use on Salesforce. It's not only Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, or the internal Salesforce application. But as you mentioned, it's also Experience Cloud side, for example.
Okay, that's going to be good to know for a lot of people because one of the challenges that I've seen in deploying a Salesforce-based solution sometimes is there are differences in the different license types. Obviously, there has to be because you pay something for one license type versus another. There's clearly going to be a difference in features and functions. But sometimes when there's a framework difference and the way you build for one license has to change from the way you build from another license, that sort of thing can really slow down the pace at which you can get a solution out to your end users. And if you have this one. If your one framework can cover all these different license types and approaches, that actually simplifies the development for a lot of people, which is really good to know, actually.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
That's our goal.
So if we move away from the product for 1 second and just delve into, like, your business, and you're quite a young company, and and like many ISV companies like us, you're not a massive multinational corporation. So, like, what are the challenges that you faced, when you were doing this sort of founder level stuff, like selling, for example?
I'm thinking about the sales cycle. You're always thinking about, oh, I build the best product. I have the best product, and you know what I'm talking about. But then the reality is you need to be patient with customers because they will not purchase your product right away. I mean,
I'm
for
laughing
us,
because I understand this dialogue. I mean, like, we know it's the best product, but they don't know.
yeah,
It's so frustrating.
exactly.
Just buy it now. Why are you waiting?
Yeah, yes, and we solving a lot of challenges you might have. Why are you not buying us or just trying us?
Yeah.
That's the reality. It's not so simple. You need to convince them. Then they need to find the time because you're not on the top of their list. And even if you have the best product, and then you need to pass the testing the product, validate the use case. Then you have the security. Then you have the procurement. I mean, you need to be passionate. That's really a challenge, and
It sounds so familiar.
sometimes, sometimes can be really frustrating because as a co-founder, you might take things personally, and that's tough.
Yeah,
Can be tough. So you need to really think outside of the box and say, oh, no, stay focused, do what you do what you love to do, and then things will come after that.
Yeah.
But on a daily basis, that's really hard.
It's really hard, and that point that you make about taking things personally, like, sometimes it's hard not to. Like, when I used to work in sales when I was at Salesforce.com, and it's so you can take things a little bit personally sometimes because a customer doesn't do something that they said they were going to do, or they renege on a promise or something like that. But at the end of the day, you haven't built the product, right? You're not the product manager. You haven't created this thing from scratch. And so there's no emotional attachment to you and to the product that you're trying to sell. But when it's your own company, right? And these
That's different.
And it's very different because it's almost like, this is my baby. What are you trying to say about my baby? How dare you?
Exactly. No, it's exactly like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes it's tough because sometimes you have prospects. They are interested with your product. They are testing your product. They are asking you for a quote, and then sending the quote, and then you don't hear from them. Never. Sometimes it's not every time, hopefully, but sometimes it's like, why the silence? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're doing all of that, and then just getting the quotes. Maybe it can be a lot of reason. Maybe it's too expensive. Maybe, I don't know. But can we just have a discussion, a chat about?
Let's just have a discussion. Exactly. Yeah. That is a courteous thing to do. Yeah. You know what I really hate? What I really hate, and this has happened to us a couple of times when, it might be an SI partner, it might be the customer themselves that comes to us and says, "It's this great opportunity. I've told them all about you. They love what you do. Blah blah blah. Have a conversation with them. Have a demo with them." So you get into a sales cycle with this super well qualified customer, and they want to do business immediately. They've got the need. They've got the budget. Blah blah blah. It's going to be a deal this quarter, at least in the next month and a half or whatever, right? And that kind of thing rings alarm bells for me, right? Because, like, you need to go through a decision making process, right? And if you're coming to me with this deal that's imminent, it means that you've already spoken to somebody else. It means that you've been through this decision-making process with somebody else,
Exactly.
and you're coming at us late. And so how can I possibly convince you not to buy the other guy that you've probably spent more time with? And the reality of what you're doing is you're price matching. You want a quote from us. You want to present that quote to the other vendor, and you want to get them to offer something more competitive to you, and you're using us, and that's happened a couple of times. And as you can see, I have no hair, which I'm old enough that I've been through the cycle a few times.
Yes, and that's hard not to take this personally because, as you mentioned, it's our baby.
Yeah.
But that's part of the reality, and that's the challenge. You can't have everything the way you want,
Exactly.
and you need to face that and to see how you can improve yourself and improve the product and the company toward the mission.
Absolutely. Hey, I was speaking to a few other ISV companies, and they're all like talking about Dreamforce and, should they go to it? And, they're small companies. Dreamforce is expensive. And you have some thoughts on that, right? Because you've been a few times. You've been, 4 times to Dreamforce?
Yes, 4 times to Dreamforce. To 2018, 19, 22, and 23.
What's your advice?
If you go to Dreamforce, don't expect anything. Just go there for the fun. Maybe to see Mark, if you're lucky, but for the brand awareness, just to be there to meet people, have great conversation with people, but don't have any expectation. It's always better to don't have any expectation. Whereas, I'm going to Dreamforce, we'll have X sales, we will close deals. Maybe not. And we did 4 times Dreamforces. We build a great brand awareness with that. But long term, we build the brand awareness thanks to Dreamforces, thanks to TDX. But you cannot go to Dreamforce with only, I want to cover the cost of going to Dreamforce with maybe 1 or 2 sales. Maybe it will happen, but you cannot have the pressure of that when you're doing Dreamforce.
Have you been in situations then where you've spoken to prospects after Dreamforce and they've said, "Oh yeah, you were the guys at Dreamforce," or "We saw you at Dreamforce"? So because when that happens, the brand awareness aspect at least has been effective. Has that happened to you?
Yes. It happens to me a few times, thanks to Dreamforce. Not every time, but few times, yes. So because they met us at Dreamforce. And sometimes, I'm talking with prospect I met at Dreamforce 2 years ago. And I'm still trying to close this opportunity. But the initial contact was Dreamforce. But as I mentioned, sales cycle is extremely long, can be long, especially with the economic uncertainty, the economic landscape.
Yeah, definitely. So that's interesting. Have you detected generally like an increase in the sales cycle time in recently?
It's hard to say because for now we are mostly focused on our new product on the App Exchange, and we are on the App Exchange since February, so we don't have a lot of backlog for that, With the prototyping tool, I would say that people are careful about their expense, so it might take longer to close some deals.
Yeah.
But for sure, it's not very helpful for us, for the economic landscape, but that's the reality. How we can face that. That's a challenge, but, Salesforce is always improving. It's always growing as well, even on their sales. So it means that the market is here. The needs is here as well. We need to be patient, and we need to be focused on the product. Then
absolutely,
it will come for the rest.
I actually heard that Salesforce employees use your products for their demos. Is that true? That's really cool.
Yes, yes. No, I mean, that's cool. That's good because it means that we have a great product. And if they are using our product for their demos, it's because it's easy to use, it's fast. And they don't want to rely on their dev solution team to build specific custom solution for their potential customers. So, I mean, no, that's great. To be used by Salesforce, that's really great.
It's really good validation, isn't it? I mean, if I was in your shoes and this was my product and Salesforce were using it internally, I'd be really proud. I'd be like, great. I mean, it's just really good because it's a clear indication that they haven't got the technology that you have, right? So they're having to rely on you.
No, to me, it's really a clear indication about the product market fit.
Yeah.
It's a check. Yes, product
Exactly.
market fit check because Salesforce is using our product for their demos. So it means that there is a need and there is potential for that.
Do they do much in the way of giving you leads? Do you find that coming from Salesforce? I know like every ISV wants that, and it's generally quite hard to achieve. But every now and again, you come across an ISV company that has that fairly close relationship with Salesforce.
It's hard to evaluate. I think it's a long-term process, and Salesforce don't want to really push one partner and not another one. So they're trying to be, very careful with that. Sometimes we get some leads from them, but that's not the vast majority of our leads coming from Salesforce. No, that's not the reality. But it's part of the brand awareness. Go to Dreamforce. They know the Avonni brand through their maybe Salesforce AEs or solution engineers. That's part of the brand awareness.
Yeah.
To me.
Your company was originally a consulting company, if I'm not mistaken. So you transitioned from being a services-focused business to one that is now a product-focused business. I think that there'll be a lot of people that are interested in getting an insight on that, like what is the difference, and how do you see the pros and cons of each one of those?
Yes, no, you're right. Before starting Avonni, I had another company, but as a consulting company in the Salesforce ecosystem. It's really different because the market size is way more localized for what we did in the Salesforce implementation process. And you're doing great things, but it's different than building an application because when you're doing consulting services, you're mostly doing the same things every time.
Lots of Sales Cloud rollouts, lots of Service Cloud rollouts.
Exactly. Understand the customer needs and then do the implementation. And then you need to face the challenges you have. And sometimes, maybe not most of the time, but sometimes they are not happy with what you're doing. Or it's not they are not happy with what you're doing. They are not happy because that's not what they want. And they don't realize what they really want until they see something, And when they see something, that's not what I was thinking about at the beginning. Yes, but it's changing the scope of the project a lot, And so you need to deal with that.
They want to change the scope, increase the scope, but not pay for the difference.
Exactly, and that's where we came across with the idea of the prototyping tool, based on that, reality. But I would say it's extremely different. And we started the ISV part because we want to build a product people love. And we want to get a reach of not being only localized, but worldwide available.
Yeah.
And that's the power of the app exchange of Salesforce.
Absolutely right. I was thinking about the expectations that people have as customers, and I've always thought that being an SI company is a little bit like owning a restaurant, right? Because like there's only a small number of industries where the customer expectation of the service is disproportionately higher than in any other industry, and one of those is restaurants. So when you walk into a restaurant, your food has to be the perfect temperature. It's got to be the perfect spice
Exactly.
level. It's got to be the perfect portion. It's got to be presented in the perfect way. It's got to be presented on time, right? It can't be delayed. And so if something is slightly wrong with this, customers, they're going to leave a bad review on TripAdvisor. And I think this is comparable to being
You're
a
roasted.
consulting
You're
company.
roasted. Yeah.
Yeah. And in consulting, it's the same. It's the
It's the
expectation.
same.
It's unrealistic in most cases, and the challenge is, you're always stuck as the supplier, because you're trying to balance like the reality with maintaining a level of politeness, right? And it is very difficult to strike that balance, and the customer expectation is here, but the reality of what you can give is down here, and you plug the gap by increasing the number of like chargeable mandates, and the customer
Exactly.
is always like challenging that. So my heart goes out to all those consulting firm CEOs who have to deal with this day in, day out. One last thing from me, Cedric, which is that if there's one thing that you would advise the folks that are listening to this podcast, bearing in mind that they're all involved in the ISV community, what would that piece of advice be?
Believe in what you do. It's extremely important. And especially being a master in what you do. That's really the key, because you can't be convincing if you're not convinced. And that's
Exactly.
extremely important when you're creating a product and when you're trying to sell your product to potential customers, because they will know that not only by speaking to them, but they will notice that by only seeing you if you're not convinced by your product. So it's really important, and believing in what you're doing, because sometimes you will face challenges, sometimes you will take things personally, but think about the long term. Think about the things you're building, not for the short term, but for the long term. And yes, it will take work. Yes, it will be hard, but if you're loving what you're doing, that's important. That's really important.
That
That's the key.
that is so important, because that's got to be the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning, right? It's an absolute pleasure having you on here, Cedric. I really appreciate that you took
My
the time
pleasure.
out to be on the podcast. What we're going to do is we're going to post a link in the comment section, and that's going to allow people to sign up to Avonni online, and then I guess they can just start building from there, right? They can try it for free.
Yes. Start it for free. No trial, no time limitation. Install on the sandbox. Get access to everything.
Absolutely amazing. That's perfect. Again, thank you, Cedric, so much for your time. We really appreciate
Thank you
it.
for the opportunity. Thank you so much for your time as well. Thank you.
Pleasure.